story that began with a seemingly innocuous podcast. It is a story I call Whispers in the Static. Four friends, Ethan, Laura, Mike, and Samantha, were avid fans of paranormal podcasts. They would spend hours listening to ghost stories, unsolved mysteries, and eerie encounters. It was their favorite way to bond and share a love for the unexplained. One night, as they gathered around Ethan's laptop, they stumbled upon a new podcast titled Whispers in the Static. The description promised an unparalleled journey into the darkest corners of the supernatural. It started innocently enough, with the host, a man named Jonathan, welcoming them in a deep, soothing voice. Welcome, dear listeners, to Whispers in the Static. Tonight, we explore the thin veil between our world and the other side. Listen closely, for you might just hear a whisper meant for you. As the friends settled in, the podcast began recounting tales of haunted houses, spectral apparitions, and cursed objects. But something was off. The stories seemed personalized. Ethan noticed that one story eerily mirrored a nightmare he'd had the week before, a nightmare he hadn't shared with anyone. Laura shivered as Jonathan described a shadowy figure that had been haunting her dreams for months. Mike and Samantha exchanged nervous glances as the host described a decrepit old cabin, much like the one in the woods near their hometown, where they had experienced something unsettling as kids. The friends were unnerved, but they couldn't stop listening. It was as if the podcast was speaking directly to them. They listened for hours, captivated and horrified, until finally, the episode concluded with Jonathan's ominous farewell. Thank you for joining us. Remember, the static is always listening. Until next time, if there is a next time. They tried to laugh it off, convincing themselves it was all just a coincidence. But when Ethan shut his laptop, the room remained silent, the air thick with an unsettling presence. The night passed slowly, filled with restless sleep and shadowy figures lurking at the edges of their dreams. The following day, they tried to resume their normal lives, but something had changed. Each of them felt watched, their every move shadowed by an invisible presence. Laura saw fleeting glimpses of a tall, dark figure reflected in mirrors and windows. Mike's radio would burst into static, and in those moments, he swore he could hear Jonathan's voice whispering his name. Samantha's phone would buzz with notifications from unknown numbers, each message containing cryptic phrases that seemed to be excerpts from their lives. Desperate to understand what was happening, they reconvened and decided to listen to the next episode of Whispers in the Static. But when they tried to find the podcast, it had vanished. There was no trace of it on any platform, as if it had never existed. Panic set in. What had they invited into their lives? As the days turned into weeks, the hauntings grew more intense. Doors would slam shut without warning. Lights flickered ominously. Objects moved on their own. The friends were being hunted by something unseen, something that fed off their fear. One night, Ethan had enough. He decided to confront whatever was tormenting them. Armed with a sense of dread and a determination to end the nightmare, he sat in his darkened living room, laptop in front of him, and hit record on a voice memo app. This ends tonight, he declared, his voice trembling. Jonathan, if you can hear me, show yourself. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the laptop screen flickered to life. Static crackled through the speakers, and Jonathan's voice emerged, calm and chilling. You shouldn't have come back, Ethan. The static knows you now. It will never let you go. Ethan screamed as the laptop screen filled with a dark, swirling void. He felt an icy hand grip his shoulder, and his vision blurred as he was pulled into the darkness. The last thing he heard was the sound of his own voice, distorted and distant, echoing from within the static. When Ethan didn't show up the next day, his friends knew something had gone terribly wrong. They rushed to his apartment, only to find it empty, the laptop screen displaying nothing but static. His voice memo app was still recording, capturing the soft, eerie whispers that filled the room. Laura, Mike, and Samantha fled, each of them haunted by the knowledge that the static had claimed Ethan. They tried to move on, but the whispers followed them, growing louder with each passing day. They knew that it was only a matter of time before they too would be pulled into the void. So, dear listeners, as you sit in the comfort of your homes, listening to my voice, beware. The static is always listening, always watching. And if you hear a whisper that seems meant just for you, it might already be too late. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey. If you enjoyed tonight's story, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And remember, the unknown is always closer than you think. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and keep listening to Eerie Echoes.